Boardroom, Chapter 15, Part B. Hop turned back slowly, all the while staring at the floor so his son could not see the tears welling in his eyes. He finally said, "Tomorrow, watch me." But his voice broke, and he quickly exited into the cool evening air, searching for some relaxation that he knew would not befall him on this another sleepless night. He trudged up to the granite bench overlooking Lake Placid, sat down, and stared across the serene water toward the Spiritarium Falls, gently cascading onto the water, creating small waves, the only disturbance on an otherwise tranquil scene. An ironic grin came to the now weathered complexion of his salt-stained face. He could fix his face like new if he chose, but then no one would perceive him as real. As it was, few seemed to take him real anyway. He had made this beautiful lake ages ago, over 25 billion years ago, he surmised. He knew it was exactly 25,371,203,408 years, 7 months, 5 days, 3 hours, 2 minutes, and 9 seconds. He sometimes hated knowing everything, and never more than this night. He had recently moved it here, and tomorrow he was going to create a macrocosm of this little lake which would ultimately tear apart his beautiful, peaceful universe from one end to the other. In the past 4 years since the advent of Earth, and even before that, at the Line in the Sand meeting, he many times felt himself overwhelmed. He wondered over and over and over how come something so very good could go so very bad. He felt himself losing it, his own sanity, that is. Everybody else had someone to talk to vent their feelings, but he had no one. He was at the top. There was no one above him to help him. He was it. He turned his head skyward, and as he did so, he felt it stiffen from all the fine work he had been doing. He stared up into the star-filled yet empty night sky, searching for some help, any help, knowing full well he would not find it there, or anywhere, anytime, or any place, ever. The lonely agony was tearing at his left chest again. He grabbed his chest with both hands and began to shake. Then his whole body went rigid. He stared up at the sky and shrieked, but only a whisper came out. "Please, God, somebody, anybody, help me. I can't bear it. Anybody out there? Come in, please." He stared up at the lonesome skies, knowing full well there would be no answer, but hoping desperately he would find one. Suddenly he felt something on his left shoulder. He turned around, but he couldn't see anything. Then he saw it on the granite bench a few feet from him. It began to chirp loudly at him. It was a golden sparrow, a small but beautiful bird with deep chocolate feathers capped by a golden crown of feathers on its head. He remembered he had been quite proud of it. The first version he had created over on K6, planet Servantilli. He had tweaked this new Earth version, given it gold feet and a throatier cry. The bird kept chirping away at his creator in an almost violent voice. It would not stop. He kept staring at it as if in a trance, slowly at first, but then with increasing momentum, the creaky wheels of his cluttered mind began to turn. A smile caught the left corner of his mouth, then the right. This little bird, one of his most diminutive creations, had the gall to sit there in front of him, the king of all the universe, and give him, the ruler of all, a verbal tongue-lashing. His sides began to quake as waves of laughter began to rumble up, and soon he was roaring in delight at his own ridiculous misgivings. The bird would not stop singing, and it only increased the level of Pop's laughter. He held his head with its slick-back gray hair in his hands and continued to cackle uncontrollably. Soon he felt something wet and sticky on the back of his head. Realizing his little friend had made a deposit on him, was now off to hunt down some unsuspecting worms for supper, his mirth began to subside. He rose, walked down to the lake. Instead of stopping and staring at the water, he walked into the water up to his waist, leaned forward and plunged his gray hair under the water. He was fully clothed in his charcoal suit, but he didn't seem to notice or care. He washed away the golden sparrow's deposit, dried his eyes with his purple tie, and then walked back up toward the house. "What's all the racket out here, baby?" Spirit said, meeting him by the bench. "You're all wet. Can't I leave you alone for a minute?" She then noticed the smile on his face, something she had not seen for a while. "Baby, the night's half gone. We need to get right to bed. I got a few more things to try on you so I can incorporate them into tomorrow's work." He whisked his puzzled wife into his strong arms and carried her straightway to Blissville. Adam awoke with a start. Staring over him from above was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. She stared into his green eyes with her soft violet-colored ones framed with high arched eyebrows set on a forehead divided by a peak at the hairline. Her nose was prominent, and her high cheekbones accented a beautiful face crowned with flowing curls of long black waist-length hair. He scarcely noticed her perfect figure, but what Adam could not take his eyes off was the sweetness of her smile. The magnetism of her smile drew him to kiss her again and again. The tingling he felt on his lips and in other places was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Finally, with her help, he sat up next to her. But as he rose, he felt a sharp stab of pain in his right rib cage. He hadn't remembered injuring himself, but the magnetic creature seated next to him on the soft grass seemed to assuage his discomfort. "What's your name?" Adam asked his new friend. She shrugged. I She really didn't know. He was sure he must be dreaming. He leaned over and kissed her again. No, this angel was real. The tingle was still there. Then he remembered Pops had said he would give him a surprise for him on his birthday. "What's yours?" the beautiful creature next to him queried. "Mine is Adam, but yours—" "He didn't tell." "Who is he? And what didn't he tell you?" "Pops, I mean my father didn't tell me your name. I guess he wants me to name you." "What's a father?" she asked. "I'll tell you later. First things first." She leaned over and kissed him again, liking the feeling as much as he did. "First we have to name you." She put her long finger on his lips and said, "What will it be?" His mind was blank. He had spent the last 4 years giving names to every tree, bird, animal, and flower in all his world. Now he had been given the most spectacular life form of all he surveyed, and he had run out of names. The most beautiful animal ever created sat right here in front of him, and he was drawing a blank. He gazed at her beauty. He just couldn't believe this was happening to him. He kissed her every few seconds to confirm her reality. Finally she pulled away and said, "I have to know. What is my name?" He stared at her stunning face and then noticed the reflection of the setting sun in her eyes. The sun was half set on the horizon, and the view, though her eyes, became indelibly etched in his memory. Pop had helped him countless times in the past, and once again Adam now realized he was helping him again. He continued to look into her eyes and finally blurted out, "Eve." "What?" "Your name will be Eve." "What a pretty name. Did you give it to me?" Adam thought for a minute, then said, "Our father did." "What is a father? Is he like you?" "When can I meet him?" Eve asked. "In the morning, Eve." Adam took Eve's hand and led her to his home in the garden known as Eden, where they would spend a night of love, such as never had been witnessed in all universal time. Unbeknownst to the happy couple, the entire universe looked on in amazement, save two. Near the battlefront in a secure bunker, a dark-complected angel stared at the blissful scene of the two lovebirds getting to know one another. "We got 'em." In his bed, up on the moon of Earth, the craggy-faced, gray-haired being lay back in his bed exhausted from the day's work. He put his arms around his lovely wife and uttered the words, It started.